Before we dive into today's story, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us till the very end. And if this story moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and send it to a friend who needs to hear it. Now, let's begin. At 24, Damien Cross stood in the narrow kitchen of his parents' cramped condo in Coral Shores, Florida, holding a wrinkled check for $220 that had bounced. Just like the last two. The ceiling fan above gave a lazy squeak, throwing lopsided shadows over the tense scene. His father, Martin Cross, gripped the counter so hard his knuckles turned white. "I trusted you with one simple thing, Damien," Martin thundered, his deep voice shaking the dusty glasses in the cabinet. $220, just one loan, and you still managed to mess it up. Damien swallowed hard, his throat dry. The money hadn't gone to partying or nonsense like Cale, his older brother, always accused him of. It had gone into repairing the squeaky brakes of his rusted pickup, his only lifeline to job sites, the only thing keeping his landscaping interviews from slipping away. "The client promised me payment last week," Damien muttered, his voice low, almost embarrassed. Then he vanished. "I didn't expect the check to bounce." His mother, Rosalie, slammed her coffee mug down so hard that a chip flew off the rim and skittered across the counter. "We're paying your bills while you freeload here," she snapped, her tone sharp enough to cut. "And you can't even manage $220. At the fridge, Cale leaned with arms folded, his lips curling into a smug grin. "Told you not to help him, Dad. Damien's always been reckless with money. Should have gone to business school like me instead of digging around in the dirt with that shovel dream of his." Damien stared at the floor, heat rising in his chest. He wanted something different, something that didn't come with desks and spreadsheets and lifeless boardrooms. But next to Cale's polished shoes and tailored shirt, his own dreams felt thin as tissue paper. "I've got interviews next week," Damien said, his voice tight, fighting to keep control. "I'll pay you back. Installments if I have to." Martin's fist slammed the counter like a gunshot, making Damien flinch. "Enough," his father barked, his tone final. "We paid for your schooling, Damien. We let you stay under this roof. And all you give us are excuses." The words sliced deeper than Damien expected, deeper than he wanted to admit. He blinked fast, trying to hold back the burn in his eyes. "Dad, I'm trying. Get out." Martin cut him off, his voice suddenly dropping to a low, cold tone that held no room for argument. Damien stared at him, stunned. "What?" Martin's expression didn't change. "You heard me. Pack your things. Tonight. You want to be a man? Time to act like one." Cale chuckled softly, the sound full of poison. "Yeah, pack up your mower and take your dreams with you." Damien's chest tightened, anger and humiliation bubbling in equal measure. His jaw set. "Fine," he said, his voice surprisingly calm despite the storm inside. "I'll go." He turned on his heel, the soles of his boots thudding against the creaky staircase as he climbed to his small room. Every step felt heavier than the last. He yanked open drawers, grabbing shirts, socks, work pants. His battered laptop, the notepad full of scribbled business ideas. Everything went into the largest duffel bag he owned. "This isn't the end," he whispered to himself, stuffing in his steel-toed boots. From downstairs, Cale's mocking voice floated up. "Guess he'll finally learn what the real world's like." Damien zipped the bag with one hard motion, slung it over his shoulder, and squared his shoulders. He wasn't just leaving the condo tonight. He was leaving the label they'd stamped on him his whole life. Screw up, failure, the son who couldn't keep up. When Damien opened his bedroom door, Rosalie was standing there. Her face was softer now, almost motherly, but her arms stayed crossed. "Damien," she said quietly, "this is for your own good. Maybe now you'll finally understand responsibility." He stared at her for a long moment, the silence stretching between them. "Thanks for the lesson, Mom," he said finally, his voice dry. She stepped aside without another word. Downstairs, Martin was waiting at the front door with an envelope. He held it out like an ultimatum. $150 in cash, he said gruffly. Find a cheap place. Don't come back until you're serious. Damien looked at the envelope, then at his father's face. Keep it, he said evenly. I'll figure it out. Cale's laugh came from the kitchen like a dagger. Maybe you can mow enough lawns for dinner. Damien didn't rise to the bait. He stepped outside into the thick Florida night. The air was warm and heavy, sticking to his skin, but he felt oddly light. His old pickup sat in the driveway, its paint faded and its back bumper dented, but it was his. He tossed the duffel into the bed of the truck, climbed inside, and sat there for a long second, staring at the dark condo windows. His chest burned, but no tears fell for sadness. They fell for resolve. He turned the key, the engine rattling to life like an old friend. This is where it begins, he whispered, gripping the wheel. With $193 in his checking account, a dying laptop, and a head full of stubborn ideas, Damien pulled out of the driveway and drove toward anything that looked like freedom. That night, Damien parked behind a dusty diner off Highway 19, reclined the seat of his pickup, and opened his battered laptop on his knees. He wasn't just searching for job postings anymore. He was sketching something bigger. His fingers trembled as he drew boxes and arrows on his notepad by the glow of the screen. He could feel it forming, taking shape, an idea that could change things. He called it Sproutline, a digital toolkit to help small business owners like the ones who had once turned him down. A scheduling app, inventory tracker, payment manager, all in one. If no one will hire me, he muttered, I'll build something they'll need. He worked until his eyelids drooped, then slept curled up in the cab, the duffel for a pillow. The next morning, he bought a single black coffee he could barely afford and sat outside the diner using the free Wi-Fi that leaked from inside. His fingers flew over the keyboard, writing line after line of code, pulling together the bones of Sproutline. Over the next few weeks, Damien's life became a cycle of survival and creation. He mopped supermarket floors overnight, coded through the day in libraries and cheap cafes, showered at a 24-hour gym, and ate $8 ramen. Every dime went into keeping the dream alive, buying software licenses, fixing his laptop fan, paying for data when Wi-Fi was too weak. Most nights, he still slept in his truck, shivering when the Florida rains came. But he refused to stop. One morning, everything shifted when a woman spotted him working at a coffee shop and stopped by his table. "What are you building?" she asked, curiosity bright in her eyes. She wore a faded T-shirt that read, "Invest in the underdog." Damien looked up, startled. "It's called Sproutline," he said carefully. "It helps small businesses schedule clients, track supplies, manage payments. All the boring stuff no one has time for." The woman, Priya Mehta, leaned closer, interest sparking. "Do you have a prototype?" "Yeah," Damien said, heart racing. "It's rough, but it works." "Show me," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. For an hour, Damien walked her through the clunky but functional demo, his hands animated as he explained features. Priya's grin widened as she watched. "You're onto something," she said finally. "I run a local tech incubator here in Clearwater Beach. We fund ideas like this. Are you willing to pitch?" Damien's heart thudded. "Absolutely," he said. 2 weeks later, he had his first seed investment. Not much, just $20,000, but it was enough to lease a desk in a co-working space and say goodbye to sleeping in the truck. When he dropped his duffel bag in the tiny studio apartment he could now afford, he grinned. "It's not a mansion," he said out loud, almost laughing, "but it's mine." From that day forward, he worked like a man possessed. Sproutline's first version, launched quietly, used by a laundromat owner Damien had met while working night shifts. Then a family-owned deli signed on. Then a bakery. Word spread. And so did Damien's quiet reputation as the scrappy developer who never quit. By the second year, Sproutline had grown beyond anything Damien dared to dream. 300 paying clients, dozens of positive testimonials, and a small team of part-time coders who believed in what he was building. But Damien kept his face out of the press. "No photos," he told reporters when the first article tried to feature him. "Let the work speak." He still wore second-hand boots, ate from dollar menus, and reinvested every dime. When competitors asked to meet him, they found him in hoodies and gym sneakers, not a suit. By the 5th year, Sproutline had rebranded into Greenmark Systems, a name Damien said symbolized growth, roots, and resilience. Its valuation soared past $400 million. He finally allowed himself a glass office downtown Miami, floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the ocean. "You built this," Priya told him one night over cheap takeout. Damien raised his glass. "From a $220 bounce check," he said softly. "From a truck seat," Priya added with a grin. The two laughed together, but Damien's eyes carried a storm. He never forgot the night he was told to pack his things. By the 8th year, Greenmark had passed a $2 billion valuation. Damien's company wasn't just thriving, it was rewriting how small businesses managed operations nationwide. He still kept a low profile, avoiding the billionaire spotlight, staying focused on building. And then came the twist he never expected. One rainy afternoon, Damien's assistant handed him a call sheet. "Kingston and Bly, legacy real estate firm," she said. "Their CEO is requesting a merger meeting. They're bleeding cash." Damien raised a brow. "Who's their CEO?" "Cale Cross," she replied. Damien froze, his pen hovering in midair. His brother. "This can't be real," he whispered. But the documents confirmed it. Cale's once proud firm was on the verge of collapse, desperate for a lifeline. Damien stared out the window, his reflection calm, almost cold. "Let's schedule the meeting," he said finally. The conference room was sleek, humming with quiet tension. Damien entered in a charcoal gray suit, his presence commanding. He no longer looked like the young man with calloused hands and grease-stained jeans. At the far end of the table sat Martin, older now, face-lined and pale. Rosalie was beside him, her expression tight. And there was Cale, flipping a pen nervously. None of them recognized Damien, at least not right away. "Good morning," Damien said, settling into the head seat with unshakable calm. "Let's talk about Kingston and Bly's challenges." Martin cleared his throat. "Mr. Cole, thank you for your time. Kingston has history, reputation." Damien raised a hand slightly. "You're bleeding clients and cash. What you need is a rescue." Cale bristled. "This isn't a bailout. We bring legacy." Damien's lips curved faintly. "And I bring innovation. Only one of those is surviving." Rosalie leaned forward. "Our name means something," she said firmly. "It always has." "It means refusing to adapt," Damien replied. "And that's why you're here, asking me for help." He stood and walked to the window, looking down at the glittering city below. 10 years ago," Damien said quietly, "you had a chance to invest in an early prototype. You called it a lawnmower app. Remember that?" Martin frowned, clearly puzzled. "No, I don't recall." Damien turned, his voice sharper now. "I bet you also don't recall throwing out your youngest son over a $220 check." Silence fell like a dropped stone. Rosalie's pen slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the table. Cale's mouth opened, then closed again. "Damien," he whispered. Damien's eyes locked on his father. "Good to see you, family." Martin's jaw went slack. "You're the CEO?" "The one you called a failure," Damien said coolly. "Now let's talk terms." Rosalie's lips trembled. "If we had known, you would have treated me better?" Damien cut her off. "You threw me out over a bounce check." Cale slammed his hand on the table. "That was different. We were teaching you discipline." "No," Damien replied. "You were teaching me I was disposable." He opened his briefcase and placed a folder on the table. "Greenmark will acquire Kingston and Bly in full," he said. Client accounts will be transferred. Employees will be reviewed for retention. Martin's voice cracked. You're buying us? Already did, Damien replied calmly. Over the past year, Greenmark purchased 51% of Kingston shares through shell firms. I own you. Cale's face turned crimson. You can't do this. I already have. The press release goes live in 1 hour. Rosalie gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Damien, please. He turned to her, his tone flat. Don't. You didn't want a son. You wanted a trophy. I wasn't shiny enough, so you threw me away. Martin's shoulders sagged as if under a sudden weight. That's not true, he said hoarsely. You let me sleep in my truck, Damien snapped. You handed me $150 and told me to disappear. So I did. His gaze shifted to Cale. That corner office you love so much. Have it cleared by Friday. Cale shot to his feet, red-faced. You smug little. Careful, Damien said, his voice icy. You used to laugh when I talked about building something. Now I own the building. Rosalie's head dropped into her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. We're still your family, she said through her tears. You can't just throw that away. Damien paused at the door, his face unreadable. You threw me away first. I'm just making it official. Cale growled. You'll regret this, Damien. People don't forget betrayal. Damien's expression didn't waver. Neither do I. Then he walked out, leaving them sitting under the weight of their downfall. Outside, his assistant Priya was waiting, holding a crystal glass of champagne. Congratulations, she said softly. Damien nodded, watching Greenmark's logo spin on the screen behind reception. You know, Priya added, most people would have tried to get even. You took everything they built. Quietly, legally, brilliantly. Damien sipped the champagne, the bubbles sharp on his tongue. Sometimes rising is the only revenge you need, he said. Within hours, headlines exploded. Billionaire CEO behind Greenmark revealed. Family business acquired by disowned son. Damien's phone buzzed nonstop with calls from relatives, old classmates, people who had once laughed at him. He ignored them all. That night, he walked into his private office. Sunlight had faded, leaving only the warm glow of the desk lamp. On the far wall hung a single frame, the original bounce check for $220, yellowed with time. A relic, a warning, a promise. It reminded him why he had started, why he could never go back. 2 weeks later, he drove to Clearwater Beach alone. He parked his sleek black coupe across from the same diner where he had first coded the idea for Sproutline. The building was the same flickering neon, same cracked pavement, but he wasn't the same boy. Back then, he had been invisible, just a kid with a duffel bag and stubborn dreams. Now he had employees in multiple states and a net worth that could buy the entire block. Still, he sat in the car for an hour, sipping coffee from the console, remembering every sleepless night, every insult, every mocking laugh that had pushed him here. That night, Damien visited Launchpad Initiative, a nonprofit he quietly funded to help teens from broken homes start businesses. In the lobby, a shy boy with frizzy hair clutched a beat-up tablet. Mr. Cross, the coordinator whispered. This one reminds me of you. Damien knelt beside the boy. What are you building? The boy's face lit up. A scheduling app for mobile mechanics. I call it Greaseline. Damien chuckled softly. Good name, he said. You really think so? The boy asked. Damien smiled. I do. Keep working on it. One day, they'll wish they had believed in you. Until then, believe in yourself harder. That evening, Damien donated $3,000 in the boy's name. Later, he drove past the old Cross family condo. The paint was peeling, the gate rusted, but it looked smaller now. In his car's back seat lay a fresh envelope with a $220 check made out to who you thought I'd be. He placed it in the mailbox, smiled, and drove away without looking back. No need for confrontation. He had already spoken the loudest by becoming everything they said he never could. the city lights reflected in his rearview mirror like a promise. Damien gripped the wheel, a rare, genuine smile breaking across his face. "To the discarded," he murmured, "may we rise." Like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this, and let us know where you're watching from under the comment section.